Hello again, Struck Club. Today I am bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3's early access, and since it's turn to do something with the Flaming Destroyer, I decided to go for a ranged forged and use those synergies for damage to burning enemies. I called it the Smashing Mayhem Forged Flaming Destroyer build because, well, I'm using Sword Smash and I'm doing an Egg of Mayhem build, so just like my build from yesterday, which was a Mayhem build with the Electrode on Realmaster, this one is a Forge version with the Fire and Flaming Destroyer setup, and it's using again the Egg of Mayhem and the equivalent here, which is Sword Smash. Keep in mind I'm very undergeared and underpowered in the footage you're seeing, but even then I was able at certain times to do 200, 300 plus 1000 damage, which is pretty nice knowing how shitty my gear was. So I think stacking percent damage to Sword Smash is great, as this skill has the highest, I think, base damage that you can get from all those Mayhem skills. It's fun, it's nice, it's a little weird because it's using the ranged build, and the ranged build is super squishy and can get 1-2 shot even on practice, but I think this is a problem with practice, as a difficulty not being too easy, not being easy enough to feel casual, and still you getting 1-2 shot by the enemies. Overall the build is fun and it can dish out massive amounts of damage if you save up your energy for boss fights and champions, and I like it. I was kind of skeptical at first. In my first few levels of leveling, it felt very underpowered and weak, apart from Sword Smash. And I guess if you focus on Sword Smash, it's really great. If you're good with keeping the distance, because Sword Smash is close slash mid range, so you can't use your range when using a Sword Smash build, even on a ranged character. So let's show you the skills and then more info afterwards. So here we are at the segment where I tell you about the skills and the skill point evocation. Keep in mind just before moving forward that first I'm only level 56, so of course I've got 4 more skill points to obtain, and that the build is kind of flexible, so I will be showing you a few different ways of getting this, but every single setup I show you would have under consideration the +2 skill levels from Brawl, from the Mountain King helmet, and from the Mountain King Curious for +2 to every skills that are in the Barrage skill tree. So with that in mind, we would be getting skills to 8 to act as 10, and skills as 4 to act as 6, and skills as level 1 to act as level 3 for the tier 1 to 3 bonuses. So first let's talk about why I take which skill of the Forge skill tree and why I take it at the current level. Sonic Pulse, I like the relic energy cast rate, the relic energy charge rate at tier 2. And I like that I get a little bit of extra cooldown, but with the Mountain King hatch we can auto-cast it, so that's one way to alleviate this cooldown of 11.2 that we get at level 4/6. So Vent Core Launch was changed and now no longer gives us damage to burning enemies, but it gives us 25 damage to vent skills, which means it's buffing itself, along with other skills like Furnace Blast or Vortex Bomb, but we're only going to be using Cold Launch. In Furnace Blast we're only using the tier 2 bonus to damage versus burning enemies. It's not just a bonus only to Furnace Blast, it's bonus to any type of damage you do, as long as the enemies are burning. It's pretty great and I think it's a must-have, but if you decide you don't need it, then you've got 4 points you can spend on things I would mention later. I decided to go for Rapid Fire as the main damage dealing source because, well, it gives me barrage skill damage, and I wanted this to be a barrage build because at the time I started making the build there were some bugs and glitches in the melee skill tree in this test server. I'm not sure whether they were fixed. I think they were fixed last night with the hotfix, But when I started making the build, I thought, alright, let's make something with the barrage skill tree and use the burning enemies and synergize it with the fire relic. And this is nice, and I still think this class, this skill tree really needs reworks, because most skills like rapid fire, slug shot, rapid strike, cyclone mode, servo driven uppercut, those skills are channeling skills, meaning you're staying in one place. And he's not mobile, he's squishy, and he can get a 1-2 shot easily even on practice. So with this skill you're mostly standing in one place, you can't move, you're shooting, you're channeling, and you're not doing that much damage. But that's the skill I decided to get, and when we get it at tier 3 we get extra bonus damage. And if we get a not mega buster, but what was the name, extra repeater, with the extra repeater you get, instead of 13 stacks, you get 20 stacks of the damage bonus to rapid fire. So it's okay. It's okay as a skill. The main damage in this build would come from sword smash, so keep that in mind. Now, ramming robot I took for the damage to relic skills. It's great, it boosts our sword smash, so it's amazing to have it at tier 2. Now the tier 3 bonus is okay, and if you decide to go for it and get 4 skill points from other places, such as sacrificing those skill points, you could get this. But you wouldn't even need those burning hotspots, not with a build like this where everything you do is burning stuff. A power projection, you could try and get the tier 2 bonus, so you can get yourself some bok chance if you're whacking bok chance, if you're not using a shield for example, or if you don't have bok chance in your items. It's not bad, but you would have to make sure you're venting every 4 seconds, and if your cooldown doesn't allow for you to vent every 4 seconds, then you might want to reconsider and just keep it at tier 1 like me. And now here comes the fun part, the relic, the flaming destroyer. Since this is a mayhem build, meaning egg of mayhem, sword smash would be proccing things such as the other relics, similar relic attacks, I think they're called, those types of skills. This is maxed out for the relic energy cost, and with just one item that gives me cost reduction, instead of 12.5, this goes down to 11.2. If you get another item you can probably get that to 10 energy cost, and that's gonna be great because, well, that's 10 casts of the skill with the full energy charge, excluding energy you get by hitting the enemies. Then something that seems to be nerfed, and I think I should remove my points, and I suggest not investing until they fix it, because look at that, this is a skill that has 10% chance to proc, but it also has 4 seconds cooldown. So I think the best thing you can do to this skill is what I'm going to do now. Get rid of those points until this is fixed, and then spend them here, here, or even here if you're wearing a nice great sword. So I think the best thing to do would be to spend those points like that for now. So Firestorm, wait for it to get boosted, wait for it to get this cooldown removed, and then it would be amazing. Then the last 4 points of the build would go there. Keep in mind this build right now has 1 point missing from what I want to achieve. And it's sad that only 1 point is missing, because I want this level 1, I want this level 10, I mean, I want this level 1, I want this level 1, this needs to be 5, this needs to be 5, this needs to be 5, and ideally I would want this at level 5, but I'm gonna have to settle at level 4, unless, this is a big unless, you get a helmet that gives you +1 to skill levels. At the bottom, where I have electric defense, crit chance, relic energy generation, you can get lucky and get +1 to a specific skill. For example, if you get +1 to coal launch, or sonic pulse, or furnace blast, or rapid fire, or any other skill that doesn't have just one skill point equipped. If you get +1 to power projection and you only have 1 point inside it, it's not gonna be it's not gonna be something that works for you, because what my idea is to get for example +1 ramming robot, and then that makes it to level 7. That means I can get the points invested to 3 and still have 3 + 3 bonus levels, and that would give me level 6. But it has to be a Mountain King helmet, because you want the +2 bro skill levels in order to get that many skill points. So this is super rare case. So for now I say just consider this this skill as a level 4. Ideally you won't use Firestorm until it's fixed, and you would be using Giant's Wings, but you would have to be equipping a Great Blade, a Great Sword. If you have a Great Sword, and if that Great Sword has fire damage on it, for example, look at this weapon. This weapon has fire damage. So if you have weapon like that with a built-in fire damage and then you give it more fire damage, it will definitely be great for you, because first you get the fire damage bonus from here, and then you would get another 25% bonus to relic attack skills, which would boost Sword Smash. And speaking of Sword Smash, let's quickly just show you an experiment. So Sword Smash right now at max level is 798% weapon damage. Now let's start equipping things. Let's see this 13%. This 13% weapon damage, because it's additive to the 45 from the levels, gives it... just a moment, I was showing you the wrong skill. So Sword Smash is 718 weapon damage as fire percent. Now with 13% on that, it's 802. Now let's add another 13.3% and it's already 889. And if you add another 15.2%, it's 988. This is why later in the gear I would mention to use things like that, as long as they're within your level. Because right now equipping this, of course, is gonna give me better damage for Sword Smash, because it's twice the flat damage, and those 15% are just not gonna cut it. But I'm still retaining those low level items because of that Sword Smash damage. So Sword Smash is the bread and butter of this build, and I'm keeping this just as level 1 for the 25% damage buff, and this is a level 1 for the extra damage and extra burst on bosses that we can get. Now that we've went through those skills and how to spend those skill points, I'm gonna talk about the Legendarium. And before I move on to Legendarium, quick note: I don't have the items I want, so what you're gonna see equipped is not the right items. Only the Egg of Mayhem is the right item. Here, instead of the God's Beard Dwarf, I would have the one of those 3 items would be here and here. So my ideal choices of weapons would be Extra Repeater. Something that's worth considering is the Raging Beater, but I think the Extra Repeater would be perfect with Mr. Toasty for this build. So if you want to go damage with your cannon skills, Mr. Toasty and the Extra Repeater are your 2 top choices together with the Egg of Mayhem. Another good choice would be Raging Beater, or something like one of the hatches won't be a bad one to use. Avoid using things like the Mountain King Tentacle or the Mountain King Wheel, unless you have a very short cooldown on your venting skill on Coal Launch. If you do have that, then you might end up spamming Coal Launch a little bit, but that's a different kind of setup for some other time, I guess. But Mountain King's Hatch is something that you can also consider, as long as you have 3 pieces already equipped, so you can auto-cast Sonic Pose. I think that pretty much is it for things I could suggest. Avoid using things that buff skills you're not using. The arc powered hatch is also not bad if you don't have anything else to equip. You could be equipping Mountain King's gauntlets here if you're wearing the hatch along with the chest and the helmet. You really need 3 pieces of the Mountain King's hat, Mountain King set, and those 2 are must have. Which one you take, whether it's this one or the hatch, is up to you, but I think one of those is the one you need alongside it. More about that in the gear segment. Now let's quickly show you my pet skills and then we can move on to the gear segment. So here's the skills I decided to use. Must have deadlier strikes for me to get that extra crit chance. Healing friendship, I always love it. Battle cry, I always like this, but if you need defense you can get defensive posture. And then I took, instead of the stun which I normally take, I took immobilize, because it lasts for longer and there's like a permanent chance for those. So this is not something with a cooldown like this. So this is like a passive skill. It says active, but it's kind of a passive skill. So it has a chance to immobilize with each attack of the pet for 2 seconds. I think it goes well on a ranged build. I mean, you can try and use this if you want. It's entirely up to you. And keep in mind, you cannot stack 2 of the same auras in co-op, but you can stack 1 of all 4 auras in co-op. Alright, now let's move on to the segment where I talk about items. And here we are at the gear segment. Again, I would mention at the start of this segment that I do not have the best in SWAT items for every SWAT. I do not have higher level items. I'm only level 56 and some of my gear is like, you can see, 46, 51, 53. This is my only high level, highest level, 57. I mean, eventually when this is level 60 I would be farming for level 60 items with the best in SWAT stats and affixes and try to min-max it, but for now this is kind of how it is. So before I move on to telling you which affixes I think are good, let's talk about item bases. Item bases are very important in a certain way. For example, if you don't have the Mountain King's helmet and cuirass plus another Mountain King piece, you won't have +2 skill levels to your skill trees, and you won't have as many skill points, and the build would just not be complete. So the most important things for this build, and I think for any build after the relic update, any build would want the chest and the helmet of the specific class, or at least one of them, depending on which skill tree they're investing into, so that you can get those +2 levels, +2 brawl skills, +2 barrage skills. And I think you either want the Mountain King's Gauntlet or the Mountain King's Hatch. Actually, I've got it here, the Mountain King's Hatch. Either of those is a good choice as the third item. You can wear this and ignore this one, or you can wear this and maybe swap this one in the Legendarium, or just ignore it and not use it. As for the shoulders, you would probably be better off using a blue shoulder, because blue gear now I think can get up to 3 sockets. I've only seen a pistol with 3 sockets, so I can't confirm whether every single blue item can get 3 sockets or whether that has been a bug that has now been fixed. I don't know, but I saw it few days ago, a blue triple socketed pistol dropping. In fact, I might even go ahead and show you. It's somewhere here probably. Or maybe I already equipped it in another hero. In any case, blue pistol with 3 sockets did drop for me. Okay, next, since I said about the shoulder, it's probably best to use a blue one. Another great choice would be the Skittering Shoulder. This is probably the only exception right now, because it's gonna give you some nice survivability. And this build, if you wanna be able to at least take a little bit of beating, you're better off using the Skittering Shoulder. So for boss fights and elite fights where you use Summoning Smash, you can get that damage reduction. And you can stack that damage reduction with ramming robot hitting an enemy and getting the fighting spirit to get 90% damage reduction. Now, for the weapon, you would probably want a very good road blue two-handed greatsword with fire-based damage. Why greatsword? The greatsword would be needed if you invest your points into giant swings, so you can get extra damage to relic active skills. You don't have to be using basic attacks to get that. It does give you basic attack damage if you decide to use them, but it also gives you a passive damage to relic active skills, which boosts Sword Smash, Cloak of Flames and Summoning Smash, or the other ones if you use them. For now we care about Sword Smash. And ideally you would get things like flat damage and probably something like damage to Sword Smash. If you don't go for Greatsword, you can get any type of two-handed weapon, or you can go one-handed shield if you want survivability, or you can go one-handed and offhand if you get a nice socketed offhand with maybe some flat damage, with maybe something that gives you damage to Sword Smash. In general, damage to Sword Smash is probably one of the best stats you can get. Other than flat damages. Crit chance, crit damage is must-have great stats. The cap is 300% for crit damage, so try not to go over 300%. And keep in mind that you would be getting that 20% crit chance. So don't get your crit chance this high. Keep that crit chance in mind when you're going for crit chance, and try to get to go for more crit damage and flat damage and things like sword smash damage. On the cannon, ideally you would have something with very good damage, but also don't ignore sword smash. I would be fine sacrificing some damage on my cannon as long as I can get sword smash damage and energy generation rate or energy cost. And speaking of energy cost, it's a great stat on your items. Try to get it. Energy cost, energy generation are great stats. Gear work only goes up to 100%, and consider maps giving you gear work. Some maps can give you up to 50% gear work, so consider that when stacking it. And that's not gear quality, it's gear quantity. It's the amount of drops you get. So on the hatch you can get good stuff like chance to evade, chance to walk, but try to get damage with sword smash or damage with barrage skills if you want. And try to get some defenses as well. And the same goes for the legs, but the legs can roll with flat damage. The legs can roll with flat damage like those ones. They can also roll with percent damage, but this percent damage is only good if you have if you're stacking a certain type. I think stacking percent fire damage would go very well with the magma burst percent fire damage, and using a fire damage weapon. That is a great sword, so you can get that 25% damage to relic skills. This would be kind of a nice synergy, but don't beat yourself up if you can't get it. For the pet, my favorite is the Dryad Snake Band. This one is my favorite for the pet. And I like wearing on my pet the token of rapid bartering. So the pet returns 90% faster. And then the rest is just something you can pick whatever you like. It's up to you. I think we talked about the gear enough. I think I kind of mentioned everything that's worth getting. For the cannon, I would suggest blue one instead of the legendary one, instead of the extra repeater, because it would give you better stats and better sockets. And that's pretty much it, I think. I probably might have missed something, so do let me know if you think I've missed something in the comments below. I think it's time to move on to showing you some more gameplay footage of the build. And here we are at the gameplay segment, where I show you more gameplay and tell you how I like to play and rotate the build. Since it's a Mayhem build, Egg of Mayhem build, obviously, or maybe for some of you it may not be that obvious if you're new, we would be focusing most of our attention and damage to come from the Mayhem skill, which in this case is Sword Smash. and we would be trying to build energy as we go, so I'm using rapid fire, and I try to sometimes when it's a big enemy, when I think I need it, or in any case whenever you're starting a fight, I would strongly suggest leading with Sonic Pulse to make the enemies take 40% more damage. Then next off, just lead in with whatever. If you think it's time for Sword Smash, do it. If you think the enemies can be maybe some squishy spiders like those and you might want to do rapid fire, you could do that. So yeah, rapid fire or Sword Smash after Sonic Pulse. If you want some extra damage reduction, you can try and use Ramming Robot and hit an enemy, so you can get that extra damage reduction. And you can heal yourself and buff yourself with power projection. Apart from that, I like to keep my other two relic skills only for big bosses, for when I need that big burst, or for when there's a very tough elite. So I've put them on my ER, I call them the ER combo, that sends enemies to the emergency room. But yeah, this is the relic buff or aura, as I think it's called sometimes, and the relic activation power. So with the relic activation power, you need to spend 200 energy total before you can use it. The other one works differently. The other one is draining your energy constantly. So make sure that if you're doing an ER combo, you have full energy and you lead in with the ER and then start doing a few sword smashes, just like now. You saw that perfect example of doing an ER combo. The problem here is I did not use Sonic Pulse at the start, which means my ER combo was doing 40% less damage than it could have. In any case, it's fun build. I think many of you might like it, and you might even adopt it to a melee forged or to any other hero. Mayhem builds are good on any class, on any relic. Experiment with them, have fun with them, and enjoy them. Hope you've enjoyed the video as well. So this pretty much sums up the build. If you'd like to get notified when I upload more content, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss the content update notifications. The content you would expect to see on my channel is builds and guides and info news videos, as well as other type of content for wooters of all sorts, RPGs, ARPGs, tactical RPGs, shooter wooters, and other things in between. Thanks for watching, keep it cool, Struck Up, and until next time.